Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of Lou Reviews. I'm Lou, actor, writer, comedian out here in Los Angeles. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are reviewing the very much, I don't even know how to say this. I mean, it is being slammed to no end, this new Velma series, and it was being just absolutely destroyed so bad. I was like, I gotta see what this is all about. And a little bit of self-confession time. I'll be honest, going into this, I was ready to slam dunk and join in with the mob. Confession, I kind of started getting sick of Mindy Kaling's writing and her bullshit a year ago, over a year ago. Actually, it was the first season of The Sex Life of College Girls that really irked the shit out of me. To me, that show is way worse than Velma. Infinitely worse than Velma. Let's talk about it. Okay. So HBO Max, Mindy Kaling, executive producer, decided to bring back, or in a way, I guess, launch an origin story of Velma from Scooby-Doo. I would be 100% honest with you. I'm not like the biggest Scooby-Doo fan in the world. I've got no horse in this race whatsoever. Again, I went into it wanting to kind of hate on it, and finally like rejoicing in that the rest of the world has finally caught up to my Mindy Kaling. I don't want to say hate, because I don't hate her. I genuinely think she's a brilliant writer. She wrote a lot of episodes on The Office. She didn't just star in them. As a matter of fact, she got her writing chops writing one of the best shows in television history. She wasn't just an actor. I think she was even by the end of it, a producer of The Office. So she's got a lot of influence and genuine power within Hollywood. She can make anything she wants at the drop of a dime. And I hate to break it to all the haters of Velma, this will not be her last job. Trust me when I tell you, this will not destroy Mindy Kaling's career. There was a clip that came out. It's been out for a while of her, she sexually harassed one of her co-stars, kissed her co-star without asking the co-star to do so. It was very reminiscent of men speaking in Hollywood during the 50s and 60s era. this very bravado. I'm going to do what I want because I've earned it. I've been here. I've always wanted to do this. I'm in the position to do it. And I am in a position of power where I could do it and get away with it. And she did it. And honestly, if the actor himself, I don't believe has been revealed as far as I know, I haven't really looked into it, to be honest, isn't making a big deal out of it or didn't have a problem with it or thought it was funny, then why are you getting more offended than the person she did that act to? Was it right? No. Am I excusing it? Absolutely not. Like, that is not cool. If I did that to a female actress, I feel like I would never work again, ever. And if I feel like if a male actor in 2023 did that to a leading actress, um, without her permission, and she especially didn't welcome it, that would be a huge no-no. But recently we've had women just take the power back and sexually harass men. You had Margot Robbie a few months back confessing that she kissed Brad Pitt without getting his permission. She couldn't resist herself. She was so in the moment. Okay. Um, but then again, I whatever. It's it's this is going to be interesting to break down because I feel like there is a shift against woke culture, but now that mob that is trying to destroy everything woke is now become, it's like an atheist is so atheist that his atheism becomes a religion itself, and it's almost like this anti-wokeism is becoming a religion itself because they're hating on this show. And to me, it's not the most offensive or worst written show of all time. Is it great? No, not great. Very average. I'm going to get into the details of why I think that. But is it worthy of the, I believe, third worst rated television show of all time on IMDb? I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's even close to that bad. I think this is a very middle of the road, and at points I thought very sharply written animated series. They break the fourth wall a couple times. Sometimes people find that annoying. I don't mind it if it's done right. In this case, it didn't annoy me. I wasn't like, oh my God, not this. Like, I never and that's the thing. I really went into this wanting to hate it, and I walked away. I mean, I watched the first 3 episodes. Haven't watched the whole series. I don't know if I'm going to watch the whole series, and I guess that's, we'll talk about that at the end. But to me, it was like, this ain't terrible. This is not terrible writing. And Mindy Kaling wasn't a writer on this show. She was an executive producer, which of course I have a feeling the scripts were definitely filtered through her, but she was not a writer on this show. So the fact that she's getting a lot of heat for the writing of the show, she didn't write it. She is an executive producer, so she does have a hand in it, but at the end of the day, there's a writer's room and there's writers credited for each episode, and they own those episodes. Coming from television, executive producers can change things here and there, but they're not gonna, at least in most cases in television, they're gonna let the writers write. And there will always be tweaks, there will always be second, third, fourth, fifth, 20th revisions of scripts. But usually they let them take control of it. So I would assume that's the same thing Mindy Kaling did here. I'm sure she let these, and a lot of them, the writers, let me look at it on IMDb. I looked them up. A lot of them don't have a ton of writing credits. They're brand new kind of writers to the scene that have done little things here and there. And I feel like this series is their first opportunity to be a legitimate writer. Okay, so the writing credits. So you got Charlie Grandy, who was the essentially the executive producer also of the show and director of the show. He wrote and developed all 10 episodes. But then you've got Akshara Sakar, like Stephanie Amante Ritter. I'm wondering if she's related to John Ritter. Wouldn't shock me. A lot of nepotism in Hollywood, but she only wrote one episode. Akshara wrote 5 episodes. Elijah Aaron, Joseph Barbera, William Hanna. That's interesting. Hanna Barbera. Oh no, are these from 2020? Yeah, based upon characters created by. Okay, so no, Hanna Barbera did not write these episodes. They're just based on. Okay, I just read it wrong for a second. Okay, my point being is that when you look up their resumes, there's not a ton of credits. So these are opportunities, and by most of these names, to minority writers, people who normally don't get in the writing rooms and are the leads of writers' room. So from that aspect, a positive. Now the humor in this show. A lot of people are saying it's racist and it's demeaning to Indian brown women. Um, I'm going to disagree. And here's why. I know a lot of Mindy Kaling's writing, and I'm with you. I'm done with it. Like, I've been done with it since last year, like I said earlier in the review. But I understand where it's coming from. Being a brown guy and chubby growing up through school didn't really, the hazing didn't stop until I got to high school and I had a growth spurt and I was playing football and people didn't pick on me anymore. It just wasn't a thing. But I couldn't imagine being a brown girl from a much more foreign place than a Spanish speaking country. Spanish is, I think, the second language, if not Yiddish, in America. But like, I think you get my point. Like, being from India, having an Indian family, I didn't have a lot of Indian kids in my school. We had like maybe 2 or 3, and they ate weird lunches and they were hairy in certain spots. And this is where like her writing references. She references being an awkward brown hairy girl in high school a lot. But I also think that she got picked on a lot, and that shows in her writing. And I think that's why she's a comedic writer. I think she needs to move on from it as a writer, but I understand where she's coming from. And here's the thing, like, she never picks on anyone. It's always self-deprecating first, and that to me is the signs of just someone who got picked on a lot. You usually end up making fun of yourself first, and that's a defense mechanism to beat everyone else to the punch. And that's what this whole show is. It's Daphne's origin story. And here's the thing, it doesn't make any sense because if I'm not mistaken, the original Scooby-Doo Hanna-Barbera cartoon, so late 60s, if not mid 70s when Scooby-Doo came out, post hippie era, if I remember correctly. But this show takes place in modern times. It's a very modern era Scooby-Doo. So how could it be an origin story if it's not in the same time period? Now, what I thought, here's my biggest question, right? Like there was, so I wrote some notes. First of all, let me go through the notes and then I'll comment because my brain goes all over the places with these reviews. I'm bouncing back and forth. It's never really like in a coherent order. Anyway, I wrote down here that Mindy Kaling has a great cartoon voice. She's got a great animated voice. She should be doing more animated features and stuff like that. And I hope this opens a door for her to do more. Of course, with different writers that she doesn't have influence over, but I think she has a great voice for animation. The fourth wall breaking in the show, I think I referenced this earlier. It's something that got a lot of hate from a lot of people. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. Not this. I mean, it's something that's been used. It's not original. So if you're gonna use it, I think it should be really good. Is it like Spaceballs Mel Brooks good when he breaks the fourth wall? No, it's passable though. It's not terrible. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a scene here where she makes fun of her weight. They call her handsome, like they reference her face as being handsome. Um, and hairy gorilla arms. I wrote that. That was literally the quote in the from the show. And I think a lot of people took offense to it that were from the same cultures. And I think it's not this one specific show. I think it's the fact that it's almost everything she writes has this element of it in this sort of self-loathing. I hate myself because I'm brown and I'm awkward. And I had those feelings too, but I kind of got over them in high school. And some people get over it later in life, but it's like now you're a fully grown adult and you're successful on top of that. Like this awkwardness, it feels like Mindy Kaling really wants to be a white girl and she wants to date white men. Like that's where all the hate is coming from. That's what social media is saying about her. And because that's what they say she's projecting. And in a way, I kind of agree with it. That is her writing, and she's had like facial reconstruction surgery. Like, look at Mindy Kaling from the first season of The Office. Go look at pictures from her from season one of The Office, and then look at Mindy Kaling now. Like, she's had a lot of work done because she's insecure about who what she looks like. And I'm not here to tell people how to work through that trauma and pain. And she does it through her writing. And so I can't hate her for that. I can hate the product, but I can't hate her. I understand like where it's coming from. I understand why she does it. And fuck, like it's made her one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. So why wouldn't she continue to do it? I think if anything, this is going to be an interesting sort of moment to see. Well, let's see if Mindy Kaling can pivot from this sort of self-hating, loathing narratives that she always puts out in those scripts. I think Mindy Kaling should start acting, and because I think she's a great actress, and I think she can do a lot of other stuff that I think maybe she doesn't write. I think she could really do some great films. I would love to see somebody write a part for her where she's the main actress in the film and she has nothing to do with the writing or she doesn't produce it. She's just there as an actress. I would love to see that. I think she's insanely talented and I thought for sure that I was going to be on this absolute hate train, slam dunking. Finally, Mindy Kaling, F her. Nah, I I can't. I find myself in the moment, my perfect opportunity to do so, and I watched the first 3 episodes. I'm like, no, this isn't fair that she's getting so much shit for this show. But I'm sure the hardcore fans of Scooby Doo have an issue with it. But if you're not a hardcore fan of Scooby Doo, chill out, man. Like this show is not as terrible as you are making it. And if you're offended by this show, I'm sorry, but there's a great Tony Award winning play. And I'm forgetting the name of the play, but the name of the song in the play is Everyone's a Little Bit Racist Sometimes. And it's a hilarious song. And it's sung by a bunch of puppets. The name of this show will come to me in a moment. But my point being is that whether you like to admit it or not, there is humor in racism. There is humor in stereotypes. Okay, now there are lines that can be crossed with those things always, and that's why if you're gonna wade into those waters, your punchline better justify the reason why you're making the joke. Okay, I'm not saying it's just like cool, like okay, racism and stereotyping is okay because it's funny. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying they can be funny, and they have proven to be funny, and that's what comedians do when they're on stage. They talk about stereotypes. They talk about real life situations that everyone does, that everyone can relate to. There's the best book ever written on improv is called Truth and Comedy, written by Shauna Halpern, who found Second City, with Del Close. You know, like these are the masters of an improv scene, and their theater training has birthed people like John Candy and Eugene Levy and Bill Murray. That's that's just a few. You know, there are the gods of comedy have all come from this one place. And truth in comedy, there is truth in a lot of the stuff that this script is talking about. And it's funny. So if you find this offensive, your sense of humor sucks. It really does. And you should check yourself, because this show's not offensive. I mean, it might be offensive to white people because they really slam dunk on Fred's character. But hey, man, you know, like pendulums come back and forth for a long time. Minorities and people of color and people not as powerful have been made fun of in cinema and television since the dawn of it. So if white folks got to take the brunt end of the jokes for the next 20 years, oh well, you'll get used to it. Okay, sorry, but it's your time. Like it's your time. They're you know, get used to more brown voices in comedy and television and theater, and get used to like dunking on white culture because it's appropriated so much. And but it's also helped a lot. You know, like there's a lot to it, and I'm not gonna break it down on this show, but hey, it's your time. When it's your time, it's your time. You're having a moment now. My beautiful white people. So embrace it, man. Have fun with it and laugh at yourself, because we've been laughing at ourselves for a long time. And I think that this show is a lot of that. So if you're offended, get over it. Okay, moving on. You know, the show plays to a lot of tropes. We kind of just covered that. Velma, of course, like loves white men. That's another thing that Mindy Kaling like writes into all her scripts, is falling in love with a white guy. You know, of course, the white guy in the show is Fred, who's racist, misogynistic, mean, and he's got daddy issues, you know, like typical now white tropes, you know, rich white guys. They make fun of the hierarchy a lot. You know, it's just the thing is, and I think this is like the show takes huge risks. Like there was a scene where Velma's dad referenced Velma as Steve Harvey. He's like, "Whoa, settle down, Steve Harvey." It was funny, but I know that's gonna be taken and like blown up as the most offensive thing in the world ever to put in a cartoon show. I think it's a huge, like the writing in this show is kind of risky for 2023, and I commend it for that. Like they're actually taking a chance. Like they're it seems like the writing is willing to not only offend the audience, because it kind of makes fun of the audience in a way in some scenes. There's a scene in particular where they're talking about 420 and stoners, and it's like, yeah, 420 is code for grown-ups who still watch cartoons. And this is a cartoon clearly for grown-ups. So it's making fun of its audience, but it doesn't stop there. It makes fun of cultures, it makes fun of people. It doesn't really hold any bars with that. I mean, it's flirting with all sorts of topics, and in 2023 I kind of appreciate it. I'll be honest with you, I don't mind it. You know, if it does end up actually being offensive, then we'll talk about it when it happens, and you know, studios and writers and directors can course correct if that does. But I think if you're living in a culture where you're afraid to take chances, nothing great's going to come out of anything ever. You know, like people should not be afraid to think and speak and write and entertain people however they want, and find the audience that it speaks to. But you know, anyway, so the biggest thing about this show, and it's the biggest question, because I think if this show wasn't connected to such an iconic um intellectual property as Scooby-Doo, Like, I think if this was just an animated show, it wasn't Velma, it was Marlene, okay? And you took the whole Scooby-Doo aspect out of it, and you change the characters' names, and you make this the exact write it exactly the same, just without the Scooby-Doo filter on it. It's a very middle of the road show, and Mindy Kaling is not getting anywhere near as much hate as she has been for the last week. But I think it's because it's so tied to Scooby Doo, because it is a Scooby Doo origin story, essentially, even though it doesn't have Shaggy and it doesn't have Scooby Doo. Maybe they come in later episodes. I don't know if I'm going to. No, I'm not going to watch the rest of this because that's the biggest question about this show. The biggest question is, who is this show for? It's not for kids because there's some pretty graphic and sexually explicit scenes in this show, even for a cartoon. I wouldn't want my kids watching it if I had kids. So it's not for kids. It's not for, I don't think it's for teenagers. Again, I don't think if I had teenagers, I don't know if I'd want them watching this show. I mean, I, I wouldn't stop them, right? But I yeah, I guess I'd let them watch Rick and Morty. So yes, I'd let them watch this show, right? But I don't know, man. It's just like I can't imagine teenagers rushing to watch this show like they would a Rick and Morty. So it's not for teenagers. And if it's for adults, I'm not going to watch the rest of the season. 3 episodes was enough for me. I get it. It's a mystery. There's decent storylines. There's a lot of self-loathing, self-deprecated humor. I get it. I've seen this formula before in other shows, other sort of cartoons. Um, I've got other stuff I want to watch, so I'm not going to invest my time in this. Do I recommend you watching it? If you're a huge Scooby-Doo fan, sure, go for it. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be, but it doesn't have the most popular character in Scooby-Doo, which is Scooby-Doo. So, you probably will end up not liking it or loving it. Especially if you're a Scooby-Doo fan who's been waiting for new content, Scooby-Doo content to come out. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be rushing to go back and watch this. Will there be a season 2? I doubt it. I do find it interesting how HBO Max and Mindy Kaling are pitching this as the most successful original cartoon to ever debut on HBO Max. And that is because it is the only original cartoon to debut on HBO Max. There is no other original animated content that HBO Max has made. This is the first one. So they are definitely doing damage control. It's interesting to see when these things come out. Like, again, the IMDb rating for this, let me go to it right now, is 1.3. It's really, really bad. And I think for the first time in a long time, I genuinely believe that this is just people hating because they want to find a reason to hate. 1.3 here on IMDb, as you guys see that I pulled it up. Okay, so good things. Animation, I like the animation. The voices are great. The actors who they chose do excellent work. So from that aspect, the story is interesting. Again, just not for me. It's just like this is not for me. And again, who is this show for? Like, I think that would be my first question to the producers and the writers is, who is this show for? And I think it's clear it's not really for anyone. And it hasn't satisfied anyone on any level from anywhere. I mean, a 1.3, like that is, again, the third, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's definitely in the top 5, top 5 worst shows ever, ever in the history of television. And it just came out, but it's got a killer lineup. Like I said, the voice actors, I've actually worked with a couple of these people. I've worked with Sarayu Blue. I did an episode of television with her. I've worked with Fortune. I haven't worked with Fortune, but her and I did the same diversity showcase. She was a couple years before me. She's a huge stand-up comedian now. She's killing it. Nicole Byer is hilarious. Gary Cole is freaking hilarious. I mean, yeah, I think everybody does a really killer job. Constance Wu plays Daphne. I didn't know Daphne was Asian. I'm not sure if they changed her to Asian just to sort of update the culture of these characters. I know obviously Velma was originally Indian, but they made her Indian in this version. I'm okay with stuff like that. That stuff doesn't really bother me. It's just as long as it's not like forced. I think there's one line where they mention both of those things, and that's it. It's like, here's the world, here's who we are. Yes, I'm Asian. Let's move on. It's like, okay, cool. And I can understand writing those lines, because how can you tell those things by the animated drawn versions of themselves? Like, you would have no clue unless, I wouldn't have any clue that Daphne's character was Asian unless they had said something. And then when I saw the credits, like, oh, Constance Wu, that's who's playing Daphne. Okay, that makes sense. And I guess maybe the biggest thing, and spoiler alert here, and I didn't mind this because it didn't feel forced at all. It really, really didn't. And also, this is like one of the big questions about the original Velma character. Is she a lesbian? that's like part of the Scooby-Doo lore. Like, it's a question that a lot of the fans ask: is Daphne a lesbian? And so they play with that lore in this show, and I think they do it really well. It's actually one of, like, I thought I was going to hate it based off of what I heard other people saying, and then when we got to that part finally, I was like, oh, this is kind of funny and cute. And it doesn't, like, they're not forcing it down my throat, and it doesn't overtake the overarching story or subplots within the show. It's exactly that, a subplot to move the story forward. So with all of those things, I'm sorry if this jumped all over the place and I didn't give you an exact timeline of what happened in the show. Look, if you're that interested, go watch it. I'm just here to sort of kind of go counter grain, like against the grain rather. Because it was getting so much hate. And again, I was going into it hoping to kind of raise my torch and pitchfork. I'm like, dude, what's the big deal here? What's the big deal? It's not as bad as people. I've seen way worse. I mean, did you see Jeremy Corbell's new UFO picture? Way worse than this. Way worse than this. Way worse than Velma. Infinitely worse. So, what's the big deal, guys? If you're not a Scooby-Doo fan, don't watch it. I wasn't going to watch it at all. This was not on my radar whatsoever. But because it got so much hate, I was like, I got to watch it now. Have to. Yeah, that's my review. I'm going to give it a 3. A 3. Actually, no, I'll bump it up. Because again, there are parts of it that I like the animation, like the voices. I like that it empowers minority writers. I like that we're getting new writers. I can't wait to see what they write of stuff other than for Mindy Kaling. I hope it leads to more opportunities for them. Yeah, I mean, I'll bump it up to 4.5. 4.5. I'll give it an extra 1.5 just because there are elements of it that I did like. I think the subplots and the writing are coherent. They're in, like I said, in some places really sharp, some places it falls short and dull and seen it before kind of thing. So 4.5, I can live with that. Does not deserve the hate that it's getting. It definitely does not deserve a 1.3. That's just on it. I think that's just people going to this voting and giving it a 0, giving it the lowest score you could possibly give it, just because they hate Mindy Kaling, they hate this kind of humor, they hate woke culture, they hate everything that anybody makes, and other than them, and they don't make shit. They just and they don't even work in the business. Like, they have no clue how hard it is to write a full series, 10 episode order of an animated show. And to take the risk and put your name and career, not, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't think this is going to ruin her career, but it is a risk, on a franchise that people mostly love, and take a big swing and fail. Like, you can't knock that, man. At least she tried. At least she tried. So, that's my review. I guess before I get out of here, I'll read some comments and see what you guys think. Hey, Luisito. Hello, Lizzie Borden. Thank you for being here. Second day in a row. You're the best. Same thing with Simon Fly. Tim F. Velma was woke trash. Hail, brother Lou. See, like, yeah, I mean, some people really hate this show. Yeah. Yeah, little Scooby Doo there. Love it. Thank you. Too much information. Abuse of power. I think I know what that was a reference to. Isn't it Scooby Doo? I agree. Like, if you're gonna do, you gotta have Scooby Doo somewhere in there. They've got Velma and they've got Fred. It's an origin story. When do we? Maybe I don't know. Let me see if they have the names of the first 10 episodes here. Maybe there is like something, at end of season. It's probably a cliffhanger if Scooby-Doo does get, but the thing about this show is that she has a very like, all these hands here that, like, this is her imagination convincing her not to do mysteries anymore. So she's clearly was like a mystery solver before this origin story takes place. She was solving mysteries, and she swore to herself never to try and solve any more mysteries ever again. And the whole show is her solving a mystery with Fred and Velma, and Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are nowhere to be seen in this show. It just doesn't make sense. So from that aspect, yeah, I think it's a little wonky. Let's see. The Velma makes a list, marching band sleepover, the sins of fathers and some of the mothers, fog fest, a Velma in the woods, family woman, the brains of the operation. Yeah, it doesn't look like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are going to be anywhere in this show. And I know that the actors, I know Matthew Lillard, who did the voice acting for the Scooby-Doo movies, was kind of like he wanted to do the voice of this. They're like, yeah, Scooby's not in this. We're good, thank you. So yeah, anyway, those are the issues with it. Those are the things I liked about it. So I just wanted to see if maybe Scooby-Doo might pop up, but it doesn't look like it by the titles of the episodes that are coming up. Rayston Grange, what's up? Back to you. Is it a cartoon? Yes, it is a cartoon. It's on HBO Max. And they've already released every single episode, and HBO Max is pumping it pretty hard. It's the first thing you see when you open the app. So yeah. Is Velma black now? No, she's Indian. She is the same ethnicity and race as Mindy Kaling. Yes, it's a cartoon. Thank you for answering that question. I knew it was a cartoon. Is Velma worth watching? If you're a huge Scooby-Doo fan, yeah, go for it. If you're not, I would maybe watch something else. What happened to the UFO stuff? Totally off it. Not totally off it. We do it once a month. Every first Tuesday of the month, me and Rather break down the last month of UFO news and information. So if you want to come back first Tuesday of the month, we'll be here for you. Down to 6 viewers. No, we're up to 12. Up to 12. I mean, it's a far cry from where we used to be, but hey, we're switching gears, as they say. We're trying new things. We're venturing into new waters, and it is what it is. If you build it, they will come. I'm not worried about it. All right. Okay. I am out. Later, buddy. Thank you for being here. Schmargle the One. I appreciate the hell of actually recognizing the positives of the show. It's a breath of fresh air from all the videos and reviews who only focus on the negatives. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, like, full disclosure, I was expecting to be part of the lynch mob. I wanted to hold the pitchfork. I wanted to hold a torch and bash the hell out of this show, but I wanted to give it a fair review, and I think this is a fair review. I think it's getting a lot of hate it doesn't deserve. I appreciate that you appreciate the review. Please do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, tell people about it. I think this is a much better review than most people are giving it. I think if you're getting a really negative, nasty review of the show, I don't think either they watched it or they're really paying attention to the writing, because I think the writing is, again, not terrible. Royston, passive negative, very Hollywood. What is that in reference to me or the show? Because it is, I feel like it is a very Hollywood show. It almost feels like the show was written. See, that's kind of Mindy Kaling's writing in a nutshell. A lot of it is, I feel like she write, and this worked great on The Office because but The Office also was just a huge, amazing ensemble that knew how to improvise and work with lines. But I feel like when she writes Post Office, she's trying to make herself laugh and her friends and colleagues and peers laugh. I don't think she's trying to make the audience or find a new audience or expand past that humor other than what she thinks is funny. And I think, yeah, if that's what you mean by that, I kind of agree with you. If you're talking about me and my review of this, I'm all right. UFO. Not today. I'm sorry. I just don't have the energy. I don't quite get how some people really adore South Park and set aside all the offensive jokes and topics and that, but rage against other shows that pretty much do the same thing. Agreed. 100% agree with you. I mean, South Park to me is the funniest show ever written, ever. Period. Full stop. No show is better than South Park from a humor standpoint. And they've been doing it for over 20 years. And they've been doing it at a way more consistent level than The Simpsons. Way more. Family Guy doesn't even come close. It did for a hot second. Rick and Morty, I think, maybe one of the closest ones. But yeah, now they're 4 or 5 seasons, 6 seasons in. It's not as sharp, not as sharp satire as South Park. South Park they are literally philosophers on a soapbox calling out the woes of society, and 9.9 times out of 10 knocking it out of the park. They're usually right on the money. So excellent comment. I agree with you 100%. The people that are hating on this show love South Park, and I was like, you can't. I think people are more sick of the formula of Mindy Kaling than they are the actual writing, the humor, the jokes. I think they're just attributing that as being bad because she's part of it, when in actuality, all of those things are actually pretty good. It's the formula. It's the sort of the same tropes, the same sort of, okay, we've seen this from you before. I think that's really what people should be upset with, but they're disguising that in just a pure hatred for the person as opposed to the work. Agreed. Some people are just dumb. Have no interest in understanding from the other perspective. Okay. Well, I don't know. Wow, bit racist. Let's see here. I'm not sure where we're going here. 421. Yeah, I mean, could be. So sorry, I'm getting to these late. You're probably commenting, and now I don't know what some of these things. I think maybe you're referencing like my comments about racism and stereotypes can be funny. I mean, that's all Mel Brooks did. The greatest, maybe the greatest comedian to ever walk the earth, Mel Brooks. That's all of his films are making fun of racist tropes and satire. Like, so I think I explained myself well enough. I don't need to really explain myself again. If that's what this is a reference to, again, sorry. If it's not, I don't know what we're talking about. I'm sorry. Okay. Easy way to check if you're racist: reverse races and reconsider. Fair. Why not time to just stop dunking on people, be if their skin color, instead of yes, now it's the white man's turn. Look, I don't control society. That just kind of seems where it's going, you know. But I see your point. Like, I'm with you. But at the same time, like, you know, the roles have been reversed on this for a long time. And I feel like for the first time, maybe ever, like the other side is getting the brunt of the getting laughed at or made fun of or mocked. That's humor, man. That's comedy. I can't control that. There are those moments, and we're in one of those moments. I don't know what to say. There's one race, the human race. Yes, that easy stance alert. Of course, one race, human race. Everyone bleeds red. 100% with you. Imagine if that was rephrased to now it's the yellow man's turn. Yeah, but the thing is for the last since dawn of cinema, that phrase has been used in ways, So it depends on the context, man. It can be funny. It just depends on how you say it. Depends on how you say it. And again, hey guys, if the show's bothering you, stop watching. I don't know what to tell you. It's a review. It's my point of view. You know, it is what it is. Man, I think it's just because emotionally we get some satisfaction at feeling superior to others in some way. While it would be good to not really feel that way, I think it's too much to ask. That's fair. Is IMDb out of 5 or out of 10? It's out of 10. IMDb is out of 10. And it's also like there's critics and users score. So the critic score is just under 50%. It was 46.8. I think its feeling is discontent being expressed in absurd generalities. That's fair. 10. Thank you for answering that question, Royson. What did it get? 2.1. Yeah. Okay. You guys are just talking about it. All right. Woke nonsense. Did Lee have a breakdown? Lee or Lou? Lou. Did Lou have a breakdown? No, I didn't have a breakdown. Oh, what's going on? Like I said, first Tuesday of the month. Come check back with us. Hello, Tina Tomaszewski. Thank you so much for being here. You are the best. Definitely heed the advice of Tina Tomaszewski. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. All right, let's see here. What else? South Park always on fun and on topic. Let me try and get down to the end of these comments. All right, awesome. Seems like okay. Oh, here we go. Asian here, laughing my ass off. Just now, it's the yellow man's turn. LOL. We have the absolute worst stereotypes that have been and are still openly used to this day. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, like we just did a sketch in my sketch team. And the premise of the sketch is a CSI crime show that begins with this very generic line, and then the director yells "cut," comes out and says, "Hey, that was good," and looks to the my co-star's character and says, "Hey, can you match Lou's energy?" And he's a white guy, I'm a brown guy, and so director yells "action." I say the line again, and this time he says his line with a Spanish accent. And that's essentially the scene, is like he thinks matching my energy is speaking with a Spanish accent, even though I'm not using a Spanish accent in the scene. I don't even speak Spanish. And it's funny. It's stereotype. There are ways to do it. If it's smart, it's intellectual. That's why it's hard. Only the greats have been able to get away with it. George Carlin, Lenny Bruce, Dave Chappelle, the list goes on, and Mel Brooks, the list goes on and on and on and on and on of ways that you can make fun of these things, where almost no one is offended and everyone is laughing because of the truth in it. It's based in truth and reality. That's usually where the best humor is. So, I hate to give you a lesson on humor and comedy, but that's where humor stems from. That's where satire stems from. That's where justice stems from. Truth. If it's not at the core of what you're doing, it's probably garbage. So, is what it is. From Velma's standpoint, I just think that her truth and those experiences have been written ad nauseum, and it's time to try something else. And from that aspect, I can understand why this show is getting hate. So with all of that said, Thank you guys so damn much for being here. We're gonna get to one more comment. So it's funny when they did it on Velma, guys. Effing hated that BS when they've been doing it to us for decades. Yeah, I mean, like, you're not gonna win. You're not gonna win with those. Yeah, like if the white guys can't laugh at themselves, yeah, what can you do? You know, whatever, move on. Um, I mean, I can laugh at myself. I just self-deprecate myself all the time on this show. Done it since the beginning. And those things stem from insecurities and real emotions. But I think it serves the show well. I think it adds to my humor, and just as long as I don't beat people over the head with it, I think it's fine. So yeah. Anyway, you guys, I love you all so damn much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Not sure what we're going to be reviewing next Tuesday. But I'm sure, well, we're definitely going to be doing episode 3 of The Last of Us either on Sunday or Monday. I'm trying to nail down a schedule as far as when that'll be, but it'll definitely be at 4 o'clock. Um, what else? I was gonna do. I had okay. So, like I promised myself before I started this show again, I was going to commit myself to my acting and my career first, and this show is second. So, because of that, I had to erase all of my Disney footage and edit something else for our sketch show. So it is what it is. I had to make room on my hard drive to edit something that was important. So yeah, no Disney review. I'll give you a quick Disney review. How about that? Disney review in 30 seconds. Disney World in California, or Disneyland in California, is the exact same thing as Disney World in Orlando, just smaller. Star Wars, the world was 6.5 out of 10. No original characters from the original films, which is kind of weird. The rides were excellent, really good. I did enjoy the rides, and especially for a bigger guy, doesn't fit in all roller coasters. You can be any size and fit in these rides. So that aspect, I appreciate it a lot. So food was okay. The experience, hey, it's Disneyland. I had a blast. So there you go, Disney review in 30 seconds or less. Other than that, you guys, thank you so damn much for coming aboard and having fun with me here on another episode of Blue Reviews. Until next time, you guys, I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your week. Peace. What's up, Riot? Thanks for being here, brother.